Hi, it's time for another Take Two with Therese at Altenew, and I've got a stamp focus today using the Spheres and Spirals stamp set. It's a great graphic design and perfect for backgrounds. So I thought I'd share two designs today using a couple of the different stamps from the set and in a different way on each of the cards and create some backgrounds. I'm starting with some navy cardstock here, and it's cut just smaller than the size of the front of my card, and I'm just lining it up on the lid of my MISTI because it's a big stamp and I want to make sure that I get it right because I'm using some embossing ink today. And with embossing ink, because it's clear, it's really hard to see if you've got all the parts of your stamp. So the good thing about the MISTI is that you can restamp it. I'm using some rose gold embossing powder here. It's one of the crisp embossing powders, and it's a really pretty rosy gold colour. You might notice I'm having a bit of a flyaway effect here. I've got my fan in the ceiling going on fairly high because it's been very hot here recently. And look at the colour of this gold when you hit it with the heat tool. It's so pretty. So now I'm going to start working on my second background, and this is a bit more subtle. I'm doing some circles, and this is the smaller one. There's two versions of this in the set, and they're striped, and this was really easy to line up just by eyeballing it. Because of the lines, I did think about sort of twisting the circle around just to give it a bit of a different effect, or ombreing the background, but in the end I decided to stamp the whole thing in one colour, and that's the Mountain Mist. If you're not confident to stamp it freehand, you could use a tool like the Fiskars stamp press. I do use that a lot to line up background stamps, or you could just draw some light pencil lines on there. I cut this down because I want it to be the whole front of my card, so I did have to cut the front of my card as well to fit this panel, so it's a bit smaller than the average card. And I'm also going to be stamping. No, I'm not. I'm going to be colouring. I'm using my artist markers to do some colouring today. And these are the pen sketched flowers, and I've got the coordinating dies for these, so it makes life easy. I wanted to do sort of a bit of a messy Copic colouring look. I find that's how I like to colour these particular flowers, and I think it's because they've got that sort of sketchy finish in them. I don't want them to look perfectly blended, although they would look amazing if I took the time and did that. I find this kind of is almost like alcohol marker watercolouring look. And I've got the lids off to the side to let you see the colours that I've used. And if you want to see the other flower that I've coloured, I'm actually going to share that at my Instagram account. So I did pretty much colour it just the same though, nothing too fancy. I had to come in again with another colour because it just wasn't dark enough for me. And this makes me happy. The colour combo today is like this navy, the Mountain Mist colour, and then this sort of corally peachy colour, and I think it goes really well together. It makes me happy. I left my stamps in place in my MISTI so that I could re-stamp the images. Initially I'd stamped them with the permanent black ink because I was using the artist markers, but I now use the obsidian black ink to get those nice crisp edges on my flowers again and add a bit of depth to the dark black on the edges. Alright, so now I'm going to work on my sentiment. I want to cut the center out, and I don't have the coordinating dies yet. It was killing me. I really wanted this center die because from what I can see, it actually cuts out the little edges of that spiral, but I'll survive. I managed to use one of the halftone circle dies, and it actually fit really quite well. It just had that smooth edge to it. And I've created a template using just a piece of copy paper. Probably would have been easier had I used a piece of thin cardstock because it was hard for me to tell where the paper was, but it did work, and I could line it up pretty easily this way. Just run it through my die cutting machine to create a window because I wanted my sentiment to be seen through the window. Now this The sentiments for both the cards today, they come from the Engraved Flowers stamp set, and they have really pretty fonts in them and pretty sentiments as well. And I stamped this one here in it's a blue colour called Desert Night. I've popped my panel up with some fun foam, added my sentiment first so that I could line it up nice and straight before I added the whole thing to the front of my card. Much easier than trying to stamp on the front of my card and then line everything else up. Right, and then I popped up the flower on the front. How pretty is that? Okay, my next card, it's going to be in the same colour families. I did want to keep them similar today because it's easier than thinking of another colour palette maybe. And it's probably because I liked them all together, and I like to create something that's kind of similar, but it is different. The sentiments from the same set, I'm heat embossing it on the navy cardstock, and I love the way that you can really see the gold on that. When I first put the embossing powder on there, I thought there's no way you're going to see that. When I hit it with the heat tool, it just came to life. It was so pretty. And all I did was sort of combine this second flower with my sentiment and pop that up on the front of the card as well, and added some crystals. You could do this technique with so many of the different patterns in the actual spheres and spirals stamp set, and change it up however you like. I can't wait to see what you do with the set. I'll add the link in the description below, which shares all the products that I've used today, as well as you'll be able to find lots of pictures and more information at that blog post. So don't forget to head through there. I appreciate every visit. Click on the thumbs up button if you like this. If you haven't already, it'd be great if you could subscribe. Till next time, bye.